Hello everyone from the SkinClub community, James Banks here, and I'm back with another video. And this time, I'm looking at the MR12 problem. Do we need MR15 back? This is what I'm going to get to the bottom of when we come to this video, because it's been over a year now of having MR12, played on the competitive level, played at majors, played at the top tier events. There are some benefits, there are some negatives. There's more voices from the community now, from professional players talking about this, and it's become a very relevant topic as to what it means for our game and going forward. And I'm going to come together, from my opinion, look at some pros and cons, and look at where we're at so far with MR12, and maybe I have a solution that you guys might like, maybe the community will like. We'll have to wait and see. So looking at the pros, right, for MR12 specifically to start off with. Yes, the games are shorter, and I know a lot of people talk about that being good for the broadcast, for the casual viewers at home, and then also for the casual players. Maybe you work a very busy life and you don't have too much time for playing games, and you want to just be able to cue a quick game and be out of that. Well, we did used to have short games, if you remember, that would have solved the casual experience, but it was no good on a competitive level. Where we now look at it and say it's better for the broadcast, okay, great, that's fine. I can agree with that. Right? I work the shows. Some of the times it's quicker. Some days at Katowice will maybe too fast though. And that's not a good thing. Another good thing it does add though is best of 5 grand finals. A lot of people were pushing away from best of 5 grand finals because of the length of it, what it could be on a Sunday. Not so much for the players, but for the viewers who maybe won't even be able to spend that much time watching it. In MR12, it becomes a lot more easier to dedicate that time to it, but you still can't compare it to, say, a football match, soccer if you're American, but I will never use that term. Pistol rounds certainly have more impact because the game's being shorter, there's less rounds in there, and at times it can be a lot more dramatic and entertaining. So there's some of the pros I look at with MR12. Looking at the cons though, it's a much bigger list because yes, shorter games for broadcast and viewers might be something that's enjoyable as a pro, but I don't think that's the best for competition. If you look at the competitive games, you want to see the best players and the best teams who have the best game plans come together and make the most of a situation. Well, they're limited with that because yes, the pistol rounds count more, so maybe you have to put more emphasis in there, but you get less rifle rounds, less of a comeback mechanic as well. And that means less chance of a awesome story where they've gone down hard, but then they've worked it out and they've fought their way back into the game. And that was such an important, fundamental, enjoyable thing when it comes to Counter-Strike. You remember these amazing comebacks in the games where people would lose a half like, I don't know, 12-3. Or 11-4 in the Zonic Law. Remember if you went from that era of it, right? Zonic's Law that it'd always be hard to come back in. And now we see so many halves where teams can't fight their way back in, especially if they lose both pistols. Like it was a lot more possible in MR15 to do it if you did lose both pistols. So this what MR12's other con is that this makes the game seem more one-sided. And we don't want it to be that way. You don't want it to be more one-sided than the other. Also, the current economy of how the ecosystem works out right now with what loss bonus you have and what you can buy for the next rounds and how strong the second buy is, if you got the plant or if you didn't get the plant. It doesn't work for MR12. It worked for MR15, but now it's kind of a problem. And that's a huge problem. In MR12, best of ones don't work at all. And just remember, currently, the Valve majors still have best of ones in their Swiss system, which, like, you're in MR12 now, at least do best of 3. At PGL Cluj-Napoca, we're using the Swiss system. We're using only best of 3s. I think it only added 1 extra broadcast day, maybe 2, but I think it's 1. That's not the end of the world. That should be more than possible to give us a better system. Also, it can snowball in some games. I'm not going to say all, because I feel like at the highest level of Counter-Strike competition, we are still getting through MR12 some great games. But it has, like, if you have a really bad start, the comeback effect is sometimes no times to react, no times to adjust the game plan and read what's going on. And I think that hinders, like, the best in-game leaders we can have with it. Now I'm going to do pros and cons for MR15. MR15, rifle rounds count more, which means the real gameplay that you want to see, rifle on rifle, full buy versus full buy, is possible. Pistol rounds count less, but that's the opposite side of it. I think actually a pistol round having less impact is fine. I don't want to see pistol rounds having a chance for it to be such a dominant thing in the game, because some of it's a bit random as well. There's a higher chance to reset an MR15 because of the more rounds. And I think there's a quote I'll come to later on. It was from Rups in an interview where he said, like, you can adjust the game plan. You can see what's happening. Your rounds won't be over so fast because of the MR12 format, where you can actually think about what's going on and adjust to what's happening. It's more competitive, and if we're looking at elite level esports, Counter-Strike, the majors, Katowice, Cologne, Blast World Finals, PGL events at Cluj-Napoca, wherever else we're going, Kazakhstan, like when you're fighting for that much money on the line, you want the most competitive games with the most punch behind them all, and that's what you get from MR15. And that's not just about nostalgia. Like, it's really about the game itself, the way it's played, the way the players play it, and what we see. Now, best of ones are still not good in MR15, but they're more viable in MR15. I still think ideally the major should be just best of 3 every single game, best of 5 grand final. That's what it would be. Coming on to the cons though, there's a lot less cons. So pros seem to be in a similar number of what I did pros for MR12 and MR15. But I think there's a lot less cons when it comes to MR15. I can only think of 2. Longer games for the broadcast and viewers. Okay, what's the problem with that? Add more days for it. Give yourself a chance to have more time to watch it. For the casual gamers who are not playing like the in competitions, who are playing at home, yes, there is a negative to that. But I believe I have a solution for that as well, and I'll come to when I get through these cons. Best of 5 grand finals are less viable. Best of 5 grand finals are tough anyway, but when you're doing it across MR15, it is hard. And then for the viewers as well, I don't think anyone's going to dedicate 9-10 hours to watching it. Obviously, sometimes it can be like 6 or 7, but a best of 5 grand final MR15 can be a long, long time with how that go. There's also some other factors we've got to look at. Clutches are great and they're magic moments, but they impact MR12 so much more than MR15. So like, you can have a crazy clutch play, but it doesn't completely kill you, where in MR15 compared to what it does in MR12. But looking at this, when you weigh this out, I'd love to know from you guys, we've got this far in the video, which one do you think is better so far? I personally will lean on esports on the competitive side is better for MR15. But for the casual audience, the general players, MR12 certainly is. So this is my solution, because it is a problem right now, but an easy solution for me would be, we have inside, not talking about face it, not talking about at tournaments, talking about in Counter-Strike right now, we have Premier mode, and then we have competitive, and we then have like casual play. So in competitive, you make that MR12, so it's shorter. We don't need the short games. You can have MR12 be shorter games. I think that's absolutely perfect. So someone who isn't trying to get his matchmaking rank, who doesn't have too much time in there, isn't so focused on having a competitive game to the highest level, he gets to play MR12. You keep the economy how it is, these little details doesn't matter, keep the game linear across that, so same money, same loss bonus, same weapon costs, everything as what all modes of Counter-Strike is, to not make too much confusion for the casual audience. And when I say casual audience, this is like people who are not wanting to play Face It. Maybe they don't even watch esports, maybe they just love Counter-Strike and they've been playing forever and they don't even care about this side of it. Obviously, I'm very much more focused on the esports side. But then, what I would say is, on the competitive side, they still get ranks, right? There's still Gold Novas, there's still Legendary Eagle Master, Global Elites. Let them have that. That's what they can focus on. Then on Premier mode, where we've got the new ranking system and how that works, make that MR15, make it a full competitive game, has overtime, exactly the same as you would see on a Face It. And then people can naturally progress between what they want, play what they want when they want with friends, or if they're playing casual, or if they're looking to grind a little bit out. And then we've kind of got like a tier. So you start maybe just playing competitive, learning the game, enjoying the game, or just having fun with the game. Then you can work your way to matchmaking. You can see the level the pros and stuff are playing at. And then if you're really good and you're growing your career from there, then you go to your Face-Its and your tournaments, you get noticed, and you see what you can do at that point. Now, another thing that I didn't actually touch on, it just came to my mind now, is between MR12 and MR15, you can have a more detailed and more depth to your strat book in MR15 than you can in MR12, because there's less time to adjust. If I look at the very best in-game leaders in the world, your Alexi Bs, your Carragans, your Glaives, your Apex, in MR12, sometimes they want to make an adjustment or they're trying something, but like, you fumbled the pistol, you go down a few rounds, you don't win the eco force, you don't win the first gun round, then you're already down 5-0, and you're trying to, look how fast that's gone. You're already halfway through the half, and your adjustment ability is hindered, which is not great at all. So that's my idea, at least on the Valve side of things, what they could do. Competitive, MR12. Premier, MR15. Then face it into its normal bits and then exactly how you see it, played like the competitive games we have at the events and at the tournaments. And I think that would be a good solution to it. And I'm going to read this quote here because this is from an interview that Rops did with Players, which is a Ukrainian news website. And he said about, but now with MR12, the biggest change I disliked about CS2 is MR12. I miss MR15 because the games are way too short. Yep. I think Carrigan said once, or someone said it once, that now it's really different to be in IGL. See? Because when you had MR15, you could build up the game, you could build around how you call the game, but here in MR12, it's over so fast, and it doesn't even matter what you call, it's just you need to show up and win the pistol rounds. Now, I get it, because he says also the pistol rounds obviously have a big impact, so I would say MR15 to bring it back. I agree with this. I wouldn't say like, you have to win the pistol rounds, but if you don't win one pistol round, like you are mega screwed. So it's like a 50-50 in that. You need at least one. And then I agree with the calling part, which we just touched on. So right now, I would love to gather as much feedback as possible. So when we're at the next major in Austin, I can go to the Valve booth and say to them, guys, I personally think this is the reasons, and try and push something to them in a narrative of, this is what I would like to see. This is why I think MR15 is better. But I also want to see what the casual community thinks, because I know that's very important to Valve. My route right now would be to split it, like I said. Let's have layers to it. There's an MR12 version, which is kind of like a short game. Then you have all the normal casual modes in there as well. Then you have Premier, and then you have the ability to go on to face it and all the competitions. The one thing I would like to see, though, even if we go to MR15, is that all games are best of 3. They should never be best of 1s anymore as well. But that's an entirely different topic, an entirely different conversation. But MR12 is a problem. We do need to bring MR15 back. We're making great strides forward for CS2 right now. The game plays better. It's getting higher viewership. I know in terms of looking at the numbers in game, some people are complaining about the numbers of people playing. Some of them are bots farming all the items and stuff. There is obviously a problem with that. That needs to be dealt with. The cheating is still a problem as well. But we are moving in the right direction. As always, people complain so heavily on Valve of what they do. Same as when CSGO came out, like, this is going to be terrible, this isn't going to work. And then, a year later, things start to improve. They're already improving faster than we have in previous versions of the game. This is a great step forward, and I think we just give it another year, we can make some adjustments, continue going. We will have the best version of Counter-Strike ever, which is why Counter-Strike is the best game that's ever been created, because we always develop, we always grow, we always learn. We tried going back to MR12 like it was 2001, 2002 again. It's not great for the competitive scene, and I want the best competition between the best players and the best teams. So let's get MR15 back. Let me know what you think in the comments. Tell me what's going on for you guys. Tweet at me at Banks Esports or at Banks Esports on Instagram, and let me know what you think, if it should be MR12 or MR15. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and please, let's bring MR15 back. See you on the next one.